Good evening, everyone.
Good job.
First of all, thank you very much for coming out tonight. This is a public informational meeting. I would have the time just to read through this. I can do it because it's public information. So the legal notice shows that the town of Plainfield has a public informational meeting where the Board of Selectmen in the town of Plainfield will hold a public informational meeting to discuss the sale of 651 Norwich Road building. The public hearing will be held on January 23rd, 2025 at 7 p.m. at the Plainfield Town Hall located at 8 Community Avenue, Plainfield, Connecticut. Dated this day in Connecticut, 17th day of January, 2025. Kevin M. Cunningham, First Selectman, Art Cagney, Second Selectman, Peg Gray, Selectman. So I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you very much for coming out. If there's any more left, if there are any more left back there, Ron, there are a couple. Thank you. There are packets in the back of the room which you can take with you for informational purposes. I try to lay out as much as possible. Sorry for the late notice. I've been working on this for a while. So I'd like to do a quick informational discussion, but I wanted to start off by talking about the timeline of how this occurred. So it gives you more of a background as it is an informational meeting. I did want to let you know that the Board of Education, the Board of Finance, and town staff had joint discussions over 2 years ago, noting a continued decrease in the enrollment of students. It was decided that an independent study would be done to evaluate the assessment of all Board of Ed buildings and give advice on how to proceed with these structures to be used going forward. This plan for a study was public at Board of Ed meetings, at the Board of Finance meetings, and the monies were approved to pay for the study, and the results are in the packet dating back to the end of 2023. Those would be the two packets in the back of the room if you have them. It's the red ones. It's titled Facilities Condition Assessment and Space Utilization Analysis. So it was advised to close at least one school, and the Board of Ed ended up voting to close the ECC and plan to turn the building over to the town of Plainfield. Again, that was all of public information that was given during meetings and was discussed at last year's budget meetings. The Board of Selectmen received the building in mid-October of this past year and discussed and voted to sell the building at an October Board of Selectmen meeting, then voted to hire a realtor. That decision is based on cost evaluations of multiple factors. We have heard many comments about modifying the building to make it into a town hall. While this may have been an option, it comes at what is considered a large cost. One being the cost of the retrofit the ECC building that included the suggested repairs in the facility condition assessment study on page 9. Hope you have that when it is on page 9. That figure includes items needed to be fixed over the next few years. This does not include anticipated cost to add a town clerk's vault or retrofitting office space for counters or new electrical work. A rough estimate for modification to that building in turn into a town hall is approximately $6 million. We looked at grant opportunities to pay for these upgrades and found that there's something that is of minimal impact to offset those costs. At this time, the current reserve funds, or the fund balance, would not be an option to pay for these renovations, as we have a little over $10 million in that account. At the same time, there are a few other projects that the town and Board of Ed will be trying to address in the form of bonding. The Board of Education will have a request to go to a bond to HVAC replacement and a roof repair, which could encompass approximately $9.4 million. There may be a future bond request for an additional 5 classrooms to be added to Shepherd Hill. And we have still waiting for an evaluation on the cost for that, but we anticipate probably around $3 million. The idea of moving the town hall as it currently stands does not seem fiscally responsible. The town of Plainfield did an assessment study on the current town hall, and that package is in the back as well. The conditions assessment for the town of Plainfield Town Hall. And that study showed that there would be a need for approximately $700,000 of upgrades needed over the next few years to help the lifespan continue. This might be a good time to address, I shouldn't say that. This might be a good time to address some of the comments and rumors about the current town hall. First of all, there is no mold in the town hall. A study was done in 2022 That came back negative. Another study was done in August of 2024, and that came back negative. The issues of heat in the southern corner of the lower floor is being addressed over the next month. There'll be 3 office spaces that'll be unused, which is contrary to the comments that we're running out of space. Paul. It's okay. I just want you to know that we're going to continue to make upgrades as we have planned over the time. I wanted to share with you some of the upgrades that we've done so far. We replaced the one boiler that heated the entire building with an independent new boiler just for the pool. We added HVAC systems to the town auditorium. We added an HVAC system for the town clerk's vault. We added HVAC for all upper floor offices, added a mini heating system for the lower office for the basement area, added a new step entry for the northern entrance, replaced a portion of the town hall roof. Windows have been replaced at the building northern side of the basement, upgraded the power services with the new breaker panels and new power service outside the town hall, added new lights to the town hall for increased safety, removed the steam radiators from the offices, replaced older appliances in downstairs kitchen like the fridge and ice maker, created a new storage room for all the election equipment, renovated the economic development office, fixed the emergency staircases for the auditorium, installed camera systems to the town hall for additional safety, added a new maintenance garage outside the town hall, added additional storage shed and storage materials for the basement. Town clerk's office has a new counter which has included an ADA compliant service area. I didn't even mention the fact of all the things you've done in the town clerk's office to make it upgraded, and did a great job doing it. All offices have added new tempered glass service walls during COVID. We also have plans to resolve the ADA non-compliant ramp in front town hall and resolve a structural issue in the former shooting range in the basement. There are many factors for this decision to sell the building, as there are continued costs and utility maintenances which we didn't anticipate for when we kept that building. There's also an issue of lost revenue, and we would not be adding sale monies to the fund balance if there's no sale, and a loss of tax revenue if a new owner doesn't come in and remodel and put in something into that building. We would need to hire staff to maintain both those buildings here and also ECC, and we didn't budget for that either. So I would say that to the residents looking to make an ECC building into a town hall, that there needs to be consideration where all the boards and commissions and town meetings are going to be held. If the residents are interested in keeping the building and they have a plan for that use, please speak up. I urge you to consider commenting on where the monies will come from to pay for these building upgrades. I'd also like to add one more thing for future discussion. There has been a discussion to evaluate a larger 10-year plan for all the town and Board of Ed buildings with a strategic planning. The superintendent and I have been working on a possible formation of a planning committee giving long-term planning for capital improvement. We'd like to make it a proactive planning and a long-term strategy for the infrastructure of Plainfield. So hopefully you were able to get the packets in the back if you are able to read through it all. What I would ask is this is a time where we're sharing information. I would definitely like to hear what you have to say. This is a time where, if you wouldn't mind, if you have something to say, please come to the microphone. That's what it's there for. Give your name so that we can have it in recording. And if you have questions to ask, please do so. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Kevin and everyone here. I got this packet of information that came through the door the first time I've seen it. You posted a meeting 24 hours ago for a public hearing tonight. And this is not a public hearing, as I know it, okay? What I'm telling you is you're talking about millions and millions and millions and millions. Talking a lot of figures, and you obviously got some opinions. What I had suggested a month or so ago was, would we consider looking at this school for a possibility of a future town hall use? because you can't replace that building today. You can't build that building for $20 million today. So I've been here long enough to understand bonding and understanding bond issues, and I recognize that there's no reimbursement or very little reimbursement if we went into a joint pack. We've done bigger. We've done bigger sales. And we can't decipher what your presentation was. And again, I'm not being combative with you. I'm hearing you out, but I can't run all those numbers in one ear and out the other and try to figure out what you're talking about, because I don't have that paperwork in front of me. I know what you're trying to do, but the fact of the matter is, people need to come together, some kind of committee or something, to sit down so we can present the future to the town and how we're going to go about it. Because if we get everybody on board, maybe that building's not going to work out for us. I don't know. I'm just saying to you, I was here that when we refurbished it, and that building's a good building, and it might solve some problems going out 50, 60, 70 years from now, as far as town offices go. And we were talking about, you know, closing maybe Lucid School and adding an addition on Shepherd Hill School. This is stuff that needs to be talked about so that we're not going out with different bond sales. We can come to agreement what we need to do, but we need to sit down and make a presentation to the town, and you have to lead that. You're going to have to lead that because you've got some opportunities here right now. And you know, I want to just encourage you that, you know, we need to think this out. We can't just put the building up for sale and go and sell the building and add it to the fund balance and then appropriate it for some other reason. That is how you can't be selling your town assets if you might need them down the road, which we can't really figure this out yet. We don't know what people are thinking when it comes to selling buildings and or whether or not we should maintain them and keep them. You know, 24-hour notice, again, I know you're posted legally. I'm not accusing you of not posting it legally. But a public hearing, you need the public here. And we need public ideas. And there's great opportunity for Plainfield right now. And, you know, I'm not going to belabor this, but we need to get together on this and put people on a committee that understand buildings and understand cost of things and present this to the town as a short-term fix to a long-term problem, if you will. And then if we have to borrow money, your debt service is way low. I mean, we're paying off everything. And I made all those bills, folks. And bottom line is we're paying it off now. So we got room in our debt service to bond projects that we need to get done. And I just don't want to see a miss the opportunity. I mean, I suppose I could just go home and sit in the chair and not care, but I just don't want to see us lose an opportunity here. And we have to be salespeople. We believe in something, but we got to know what we believe in. You know. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, and that is for the selectmen, what do you consider town assets?
Anything that the town owns.
So, one of the things I was doing research on was a lot of rural areas in the United States, including New England, have seen some rough times. Businesses are leaving, the average lifespan of the business, comes and goes, and so, we can't really always depend on that. Sometimes they last 10 or 15 years, they leave, the jobs go away, and they leave an environmental mess that taxpayers have to clean up. And one of the things I noticed when, and I have brought a report with me about this, there were some success stories all around the United States. Some were in Georgia, some were in New England. And one of the things that was common in all of them is they say, don't sell your town assets. That was one of the first things they would say. If you don't have to, you don't have the debt, and we don't have, some terrible problem with the building that you really don't, want to deal with or can't deal with because it's too expensive or too problematic, there's no reason to sell it. And that building is in good shape. You don't really need to do much to mothball it. You have time. I think I'd like to reiterate what you said, that this is a great opportunity for you and for the town of Plainfield, that this could really be something great for the town. We don't have to rush into a decision either to sell it or to change, the town hall to that, or change the rec center. Maybe those ideas, maybe they won't work, maybe they will, but I think I'd like to support that recommendation that we study it in more detail to determine, well, what do we do with this building? What do we do with the town assets? And maybe a larger question, what are our real town assets for Plainfield? How can we draw people here as well as businesses so that this town continues to grow? Because it's not been growing since 2012. And I'd like to see it grow. I think it's a great place. So anyway, that was pretty much it. I just wanted to kind of reiterate that and show my support for not selling the building. Because I think it's a great building, and the town of Plainfield has a lot of connections to it that go back 100 years. So it's kind of a big deal for me. So I look at it as an asset for the town.
Okay, thank you, John. John, before you leave, I just had one question.
Sure.
You said mothball it.
It does, yes.
Can you give a definition for that?
There is a definition for it. It has to do with mothballing historic buildings. And a lot of times what it means is that you make sure that there's no problems with the roof, there's no problems with egress into the doors that are problematic, the windows. It has to do with making sure the building can stay unused with the minimum amount of maintenance. And there's definitions for that in historic restoration. There's a guy I was working with on the house had been doing historic restorations in the New England area for like 30 years, and they have a whole guideline for when you have a historic building and you don't really have any way to use it right away. There is a term, there is a mothballing consideration, and it really has to do with how do you make sure that building doesn't degrade without spending tons of money. So. But, and I can get more information if you're interested.
I'm fine. I just
Okay.
wanted everybody to understand what mothballing would be.
Okay. That's, yeah.
And I actually just want to be clear that I actually am not against selling the ECC, but I do have a few questions, and I apologize if they're in these packets. It came with a list of questions, and I tried really quickly to look them up, and I just couldn't find them. One, mothballing is stop using a piece of equipment or a building, but keep it in good condition so that it can be readily used again. Just so that we have, your explanation is the same thing. I just wanted to make sure that we had an accurate definition. I have a quick question, because if I went to my VP or my CEO and gave this packet of information, they would look at me and say, okay, what do you want me to know from this? What are my options other than selling? So I have a few questions just so that I can complete my picture. What's the commission rate on the sale of the building?
That is 6% total.
6%, okay. So that is over, it's about $100,000 out of 1.9. So if we put, even if we put the full 1.9 into the fund balance and keep it there for a year at a 4.74977% that it's currently at, that yields about $90,000. Actually, let me just make sure that that number is correct. Yeah, about $90,000. So less than $90,000 if we keep it in there for a year, which it seems like your plan. So in the current state, if we sold, what is the tax revenue if we sold it for the 1 point, or actually it doesn't really matter, what's it evaluated at? What's the tax revenue per year?
I have not calculated that out because I don't know what the actual bid would be.
Okay, that's fine. We can estimate that. And then per month, what is it without any occupancy per month to keep it, like the pipes from freezing and all of that, if we were going to mothball
I would say on average though, we're talking about heating, we're talking about maintenance of the building. We're talking roughly about $100,000 a year.
Okay, so $100,000 a year, and that's unoccupied, so we don't, okay. So for the next year, and I saw the plan about the short term, 1 to 2 years, but there's nothing in the immediate. So I think those are all of my questions. I just want to make sure that I have it all in the state that, just so we have a bottom line number, and I think the suggestions coming from the other townspeople are accurate, that we need a committee or someone to look at the numbers, all of these numbers, and make sure that we're making the right decision. And honestly, I'm not, like I said, I'm not against selling it if the numbers make sense. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think Samantha, you received in your email today from the superintendent, that was the actual committee we were talking about?
Yep, I saw, I actually.
Yep. And just make sure that the public was aware that we were looking for a recommendation to form a Plainfield Capital Strategic Planning Committee. That was one of the last things I mentioned during my discussion.
That would be before we sell the store, we go to vote.
We're going to try to get this going as soon as possible. I'd have to have permission from all the boards and committees to be buying in on this.
So we'll vote on this before that committee is formed.
I don't know. You know, it depends on it depends on what the bids are coming in at. We have one bid right now. We anticipate 2 more. You really can't go out to a town meeting to sell something unless you know who the company is and what the dollar value is. So then it goes to Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, and then eventually to a town meeting. It's the same process, by the way, that we have for the lots that were up at the iPark. You can't sell it until you know the person who wants to occupy and purchase and the actual price. Anyone else wish to speak right now?
Good evening. I don't profess to say that I come to every town meeting or anything, but my question is...
Just if you wouldn't mind, just so for the record, your name.
Kelly Rodriguez. My question is, I've lived here long enough as I can remember that we do tend to play whack-a-mole with our buildings. We, originally central office for the school system was where the high school was. Then we took that down and moved them somewhere else to the ECC. Now we move central office to Shepherd Hill, and you're saying we need to add classes potentially to Shepherd Hill. Is that because we moved central office there? No.
No,
So,
it's because we are in the process of planning, according to that report, to close the second school. At this time, it's anticipated that it may be Moosup Elementary. And by doing so, to take those students over to Shepherd Hill, they wanted to add on a few more classrooms to cover that.
and clarify for me, we moved central office there because of the anticipated sale of this building?
No, we moved them, they decided to move there. They could have moved anywhere they wanted to, but that's where they decided to go.
But I mean, because the anticipation of selling the ECC.
No, they turned it over to us, period.
Okay.
Now, it's the town's property, and the town is looking to move from that to put something in there, a company or whomever.
Have we weighed the cost of this property as it's being marketed for multifamily and condominiums? Have we weighed the cost of how that's going to affect our school systems if you're saying we're already at capacity to some of these buildings and we're planning on moving Moosup to potentially another building?
I don't think I said we were at capacity at these other buildings.
But you said you had to add potentially more.
That's a plan by the Board of Education, that they were looking to add more classrooms over to Shepherd Hill in order to absorb all of the other students coming in from Moosup.
Right, but this is being marketed, the ECC is being marketed as multifamily or condominiums.
Correct.
That's going to then put more students in our buildings that you just said we're potentially going to be at capacity if we move a school to another school.
That building to be sold can be sold for just about anything. That's how they're marketing it. If you walk through that building, we did some walkthroughs before. There's probably maybe 2 of the areas that could make into 2 bedrooms. The remainder will all be 1 single bedrooms.
Okay, but have we weighed the cost if it is sold that way? Like you said, you have bids.
You mean for 2 more students to come in?
No.
I'm not sure I understand the
A
question.
developer could turn it into whatever, and the listing is listed as ideal for multifamily or condominiums.
Mhm.
So if someone does that, have we explored what that's going to do to our school systems?
I think I already answered that, but let me try it again. If you look at the internal of the building, majority of those condominium or whatever you're saying is multi-family, there's only 2 areas where you can actually make 2 bedrooms in there. Everything else is a single room, a single bedroom.
As it exists now, though.
It actually doesn't exist like that at all. It's just, right now, a shell of a building.
That a developer couldn't turn, you're saying the developer couldn't turn it into condominiums?
They can turn it into condominiums. It would depend on how they go in front of the planning and zoning office to present their case or how they wanted to lay it out. There's not maybe 15 total places to have bedrooms in there.
The math is a mathing, though. If a developer can turn it into, you said go before the board and turn it into whatever they want,
Yep.
how will that,
I don't think it's going to be a big impact at all.
okay,
A
that,
short answer.
okay, perfect.
Anybody else?
Ruth Bergeron, start with the Road Musa, and Plainfield Historical Society. I'm here to add information, because that's what we are here for, and I have knowledge, quite a bit, of what that building was, why it is important, and that it is such an asset to the town, and as that is my discovery, I feel we should not sell it. You cannot get it back when you sell it. That building is important even beyond the State Register of Historic Buildings. That's on the National Register. The whole Lawton Mill Historic District, if you go by Agway, you see we have a big sign at the side of the road that denotes that that area is a National Historic District. That adds importance that all over the country people are aware that we have something of that great value here. And it started at the beginning of the village of Plainfield developing into anything. So the importance of it goes back a long ways in history, but has only gotten better since. 1913, when Harold Lawton bought that 3 acres of land from the Dodge family farm for that school, and he worked with 3 other people on the school board to build that. They wanted a small wooden building up near where Railroad Avenue comes into 12 originally, but Mr. Lawton said, no, we need a brick building, we need it bigger. And he knew what was happening. He had employees coming in with children involved, and they all had to be provided with. That was one thing that was in his master plan, what would create the old village, the new village, and everything. And as a result, we have that building as it stands today. And even with all the modernization that went on in 2000, it still is the historic structure that it always was. Fortunately, we spent $2.6 million, I believe, in 2000. That is money that we've invested. That's a big investment to protect. To me, that's another reason. A taxpayer like all of us, it came out of our state and local taxes. We put the money in. We should do whatever we can to maximize seeing that continue to be of a better advantage than what we paid for. And in this was a grade 1 to 8 school when it opened. And it continued that way until 1992. And then the population of school-age children dropped, and we had opened another school. And that's when ECC had to come into the picture. It was empty from 92 until 2000. We had all these children, early childhood group people, that we had to educate. No more room in the existing buildings. This building revived from a grade 1 to 8 building. We put all our money in. It is a very good, thorough job. And from looking over the feasibility surveys done on it recently, so very few things were not quite still all right. And at that point, we now have it back in education. Now we had that 8 years there where it was basically not having school children in there. History repeats itself. If you read any history books, you'll find that you've got something to learn from it. If that happens, we may well need more space again. And as others have said, to create another building because we sold this one, we are going to be in big, big dollar trouble. There's the reason of that, the fact that it's nationally recognized, and the fact that we have it. We've done a good job with it to this point. That I strongly feel we have to find a way out of this that will involve keeping it.
Thank you, Ruth.
My name's Nick Anderson. I live on 20 Covich Road. I'd just like to say something about the possibility of repurposing that space for something in the future. And I'd like to ask the people in the room here how many towns that are roughly our size have a public library? Some. We don't have a public library in Plainfield as far as I know. That's besides the one in Moosa. So I'm just thinking, I've been thinking about this for quite a while actually, that the town could use a public library and then part of that building could serve as that purpose. So.
Well, I'm not really educated on all that's going on. I'm just sitting there listening and, looking at this place. And this is a great building that we have here. And I think when we're thinking about enhancing Plainfield and making it a more welcoming place, the answer isn't to have complexes with more apartment buildings, but it's investing in our future and in our children. And I'm just thinking, if we did move the town hall over to the CC building, we turn this into a rec hall. I mean, we have this beautiful stage. We have a place that kids can come, and we have the park, the pool. I mean, this is the perfect place for that. And the things that we could do here to bring up our children so that they have a place to go, not way off miles where they can't even get to, but a place right here in town, right next to the park, where we can really invest our time into our children, into the future of Plainfield. We will definitely just open the doors to a better future, because you can't put a price on sentimentality either. You can't just sell a building and turn it into a bunch of apartment complexes and think, well, this is going to enhance our future. What really enhances our future is our children. So I would definitely say, put the town hall over to the CC building, keep it the way it is, the magnificent place that it looks like it was built to be. I mean, the park, the pool. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Holly. Anybody else?
Jenny Kipsikevich, 265 Gender Road. First, I want to say thank you for the documents. It's super important. I also appreciate the willingness and openness for the community to get up and speak. Situations like this are a flurry of emotions. There's going to always be people on both sides of the divide. And I think this is when we need to look objectively and have support to make these decisions. I appreciate that the Board of Ed took the time to do a feasibility study on our buildings, on our enrollment, to make decisions with information. I appreciate that in front of us we have the conditions of our ECC building and we have the condition of our town hall. But what we don't have in front of us is what the town hall or the ECC building could be used for within our community. That's data and that's information. Just as Sam shared that when we have numbers in front of us, we can't refute that. That's information that we can use to judge our decisions and ultimately should this building be sold or retained for another use. So I strongly encourage the town to consider having some sort of evaluation of the use of our town hall, so how we're currently using it, what our ECC building could be used for, and if there is any point of intersection of that information.
Thank you, Jenny. Anybody else wish to speak?
What's the downside of waiting 6 months?
If you wouldn't mind just...
I'm sorry, Carolyn Roach, 19 Squirrel Rock Road.
Okay.
What is the downside of waiting 6 months and putting the sale on hold for 6 months? So that the community has an opportunity to meet and speak.
Are you saying put it on a hold and not do the sale for 6 months?
Take down the listing and not do the sale, yes.
Okay. Again, it's the cost of the maintenance of the building, the utility costs that would be included. If you're doing it for another 6 months, we're talking maybe another, I don't know, $45,000 to $50,000 it could be for the heating, for the utilities, for the maintenance.
Okay, that's a rough estimate, so.
That's just using that number.
Okay. Okay. So with regards to the town hall here, I work in the town hall, I have an office downstairs, I'm the probate judge in town. I was reading through your report here, and I heard you say that there was no mold in this building. Has there ever been mold in this building?
I do not know. I just know that there was not any mold in the testing that was done.
Okay, well, I can point you to your assessment here of this building, the one you provided, page 7. The last paragraph on page 7 says, and if you don't know, the probate court is downstairs. The outside wall, front wall of the probate court is the shooting range that you discussed. And then there's the front of the building. So we're on the other side of that wall from that shooting range. And this last paragraph here says, talking about the interior wall and finishes, says, in the lower level, the walls are in good condition. The only place of concern is the storage room beyond the multi-purpose room. That's on the other side of our wall. The room is completely damaged due to seepage of water and other external agents. Mold and mildew thrive in these moist conditions with damaged plaster acting as a breeding ground. The existence of black and green spots on the surfaces, a musty odor persists, increased water stains and discoloration, wide cracks, bubbles, visible swelling and distortion. This requires immediate action. So I don't know if you want to rephrase the question as to whether or not there's mold in it.
There is no mold in the building. This is done by an engineer. This report is done by an engineer. I had Mystic Air do all the testing, and you have the copies of that. I can share that with anybody. The copies of the testing have been completed. I verified that with Mystic Air.
Well, I'm just saying you gave us this and it says there's more.
I hear you.
Okay.
Yep.
It also says the space can cause spread damage to the rest of the building as well as pose health concerns in the building to the building's users. I can tell you that the clerks in there have some issues with breathing, with eye problems, allergies, asthma that was never there before. So I don't know what's up with Mystic Air, but I can tell you just right now that there are issues down there. We brought this to your attention. With regards to the air scrubbers that are down there, I asked you why the air scrubbers were there if there's no mold, and you said due to the smell. there's no smell down there in the probate court, so I don't know what you're scrubbing air for, because there's no smell that we ever reported, but we did discuss the mold. We had pockets of water that were forming on the wall behind the paint. With regards to the mold, I don't believe what Mr. Guerra is telling us, to be honest with you. I believe with the report that you just gave us.
So the environmental engineers that did this.
1 second, I'm not done yet. That people had actually eyes on this and says that there are these black spots there. So I think I would believe that. Not to mention if anyone's ever been in there, I've been in that room. You can't even walk in that room without gagging. It's so bad. So, and being that there's this creep, or however they said it, that this mold can spread and cause damage to the rest of the building. We're the ones right on the other side of that wall. So it affects us, I think, more than anybody else. So that's the mold issue I want to bring up. Secondarily, or maybe more so, we are outgrowing this building. We have our registrar of voters who works out of a closet at this point, and has been for quite a while. So we're outgrowing this building, and I think, as many people have said, letting an asset go like what we have, you will never be able to replace it at the cost that we can own it now and get it up to speed, up to where it needs to be. I know you put together a great deal of information here about how much it would cost and many things that you say would be needed. However, not all of those are needed today, and I would dispute that not all of those are really needed. I don't think they're really needed. I don't believe we need vaults. I know you brought that up. We have vaults here. The vaults can stay here. I don't believe we need to have them at the ECC building if we move town hall here.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Absolutely.
So what are you suggesting the town clerk's office be? Where would it be?
From what I understand, the town clerk didn't want to move. They wanted to stay here.
So you would have the residents then go up to the town hall, the old ECC building, and then when they had to do other business, they would have to come down here.
Okay, how many times do you think that's going to happen?
It happens a lot.
I would dispute that, but I don't think it happens enough to the point where you would dump an asset of the town that we could never afford to replace for the amount of money that we would have to put into it to get it up to speed. Putnam paid $20 million for their town hall. I think there was a $1 million grant that they had gotten or something to that. I think you had this paperwork. But they paid $20 million for their town hall. If we need to move town hall or replace this building or move the town hall services to another building that we would then have to go out and buy if we let this building go. There was $20 million for Putnam, how many years ago? 2 years ago? How much do you think it's going to be for us 5 years from now if we need that? I think looking at the numbers here and looking at what we have available to us and utilizing it in the best way possible, I think it's incredibly short-sighted to look at something today rather than looking at more future use. And just one thing I wanted to point out, in your assessment of town hall here, when we discussed the mold, this was done July.
August to do testing. Thought that was immediate.
Well, not according to this assessment. The remedial actions that they want you to take is to get rid of the mold downstairs. And I'm telling you, you can see it yourself. It's on the plans.
And you do know there is a plan to fill that area down.
Sure, great. Tell that to our lungs that you're going to wait until this summer in order to get an estimate as to how much it's going to cost, if that's going to go out to bid to remediate those issues downstairs and change the front of the building. That's not immediate.
Move your office down there.
Interesting. Thank you. But we're outgrowing this building here, and I think
By that, you're saying we're outgrowing, there's no more room, period?
I'm sorry?
You're saying there's no more room, period?
I'm saying we're outgrowing when our registrar is working out of a closet. I don't know what other example I can give you to illustrate that even more.
Can I reply to that?
Absolutely.
Okay. There are 3 office areas that will be open. Number 1, the finance office will be moving and swapping over to where the building inspector would be. That means that there's an opportunity for, and it will happen, for the office that is outside of the administrator. She is going to be moving over with the rest of the finance board. So that is one office that will be open. There's a second one which is outside of this break room, which will also be available. So that's 2. We have a retirement coming up downstairs in the HUD office. And
Potential.
no, she's already given her notice of retirement. Okay? And when that becomes available, we're moving the Registrar of Voters office into there, so we will have a 3rd.
Well, I wouldn't call the closet a 3rd office of that. That's a closet. I've seen it. You've also. My point is, everything that's being done now is incredibly short-sighted, and there's really no downside to putting a hold on this sale for 6 months. I don't understand what the rush is. I understand the Board of Ed wants to come in with $1.2 million that they're looking to increase their budget with. I don't know why they're doing that when we have less students and the ECC building is no longer on their budget. So I don't know why they're looking for more money. How about saying no?
We shouldn't be going back and forth with the audience stuff.
Just clarification, I appreciate it. But I think, like I said, it's short-sighted, this is way too quick. I think you made a comment, something to the effect of, you can't go to the town, you can't sell till you know the actual price. I think you put the cart before the horse there. You should have said, what should have happened was, you should have listed the property itself until you had a town meeting, discussed it with the townspeople. To discuss it amongst 3 people, it is not something that reflects what the town wants. So I think that was kind of cart before the horse there. So I think that the listing should be taken down until such time as that meeting can occur, so that we don't run into the problem where you try to rush a meeting and get it sold before a committee can even be formed to discuss it. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
Scott John with 35 Sterling Road. So, Kevin, how much money do you get from the state to have the probate office down in the town hall?
Well, we pay, I can't remember the last number, close to 8,900, I think it was. I'm not positive.
So they don't pay rent. We do it for free. Well,
We don't get revenue.
It costs us money.
There's no revenue.
How much money have you put into it down there so far?
I couldn't give you that answer, but there are a few $1,000s of renovation costs initially.
Yep. And how much? I know you got quotes. How much is the quotes to fix things down there?
We're looking to put a heating system in for probate offices. I'm going to be putting in also a circulation fan and air purifiers in there. But the quote that you're talking about just for the HVAC, initial quote was $15,000. We had a meeting for probate office, and we were talking about putting it out to bid and getting real quote numbers in, and we share that with the other towns. But if we're looking at the high end of $15,000 is for that unit.
Has the state contacted you about any complaints from any of the employees?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Charles, if you want any information about the probate court, I'm more than happy to provide that information to you downstairs and stop by anytime. Okay?
I got my questions answered.
I'm all for more. I'm all for more.
Anybody else wishes to come to the microphone?
I can see both sides. I can see the benefit of selling, I can see the benefit of possibly repurposing the building. What the right answer is, I don't know at this point because we don't have the information. I'd be curious to know what it would cost to, not the repairs, I meant the actual physical cost, to go to that building and set up the offices to make that a town line. That's the hard cost that we really need to know. I mean, you're throwing all these repairs, I think that was part of the 10-year plan that the ECC had, the school had created, boiler upgrades, and then some other stuff. But it was over a course of a period of time. And I understand the ambition, the beauty of doing it all at once and one on the bond at once, or whatever we got to do to pay for it. That makes sense. But I think we're just pushing things a little too quick. I think we should slow down. We should do a little bit of a study to see if that building's feasible to even be considered for that purpose. And that would give us the ability to set that building up the way we need it, relocate the people that are going up there, and then decide what we're going to do with this building. It would give you this building empty to do what needs to be done to it, to reutilize it in a proper manner, and then we can decide what to do with the other building that we have. There's 3 buildings in this town that could be affected by this decision. this building, the ECC building, and the rec center. Because if you relocate the rec center down to here, we don't need that building to be sold. Just an idea.
Thank you, Sean. Anybody else? I'll give it a last call. Anybody else? All right, I do want to, again, thank everybody for coming out. The information packets are still available. Are there any back there still? There are still some packets available, and also online. So if you go to the town website, you can go there as well, and the packets of information are there. We will do a follow-up with this in the future, so I do appreciate you coming out and listening and being part of this informational session. Thank you.